Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Well, there's news on Neuralink.
Really?
So for those of you who have not been following Neuralink is a brain-computer interface brought out by, Neuralink, which is an Elon Musk company.
The chip in the brain, it basically.
Yeah, I don't know if...
We haven't heard a lot about the patient, though.
Well, I do have a patient, a 29-year-old man named Nolan Arbaugh.
Finally, we know who it is.
Who was paralyzed from the neck down.
We were thinking about that.
Yeah.
We were thinking that was the patient.
Able to control a cursor on the screen using Neuralink's device. He's able to play games online for about 8 hours, and that's what I was going to bring up. He was playing chess with somebody. Just thinking, moving the rook to blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know how that works, but I don't know if he's thinking that you're moving the king to King's Knight 4 or whatever it is, right? I mean, I'm just making that up because I don't remember much about chess anymore. I can still play the game. I just don't remember the square.
I don't remember. You know what? I can play, but I've never known
there was a time I knew.
Yeah. I know the Star Trek version of chess.
Oh my goodness.
Better.
Are you serious?
The extra layers.
The 3 layers of the 3D chess thing?
Yeah, the 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Impressive. So he's able to play games online for about 8 hours before the implant needs to be recharged.
Okay, that was my question. Do you have to plug him in after a while?
Wireless.
Yeah, because it's working off of Wi-Fi, but
No, it's wireless. Like you charge your watch.
Oh, so instead of a charging pad, it's a charging pillow?
Probably something very similar to that. He probably, when he goes to sleep or something, my guess is that it recharges because it's a Bluetooth scenario and that's how this works. There's Bluetooth talking to the computer.
Now, the other side of that, though, is so we as humans are electrical beings.
And it looks at that pattern.
Yeah. So at some point, are they going to be able to just charge off of the normal electrical current of the human body? Because we all have a charge.
I don't know about that. And I also think about, will that offset the balance that we have in our bodies now? I mean, can we take a little charge and that's not a big deal? I don't know.
Well, that's what a pacemaker's for. When somebody's electrical impulse for their heart is out of whack, that's what a pacemaker does. So, but that's not working off the body's charge.
Right. It still has a battery and that type of thing. So I don't know the answer to that. It's interesting.
It's like the Matrix.
People have talked about this in the past, and there are like charging units for like when you walk. So that as you walk and your hips move a little bit, and move some type of pendulum or something back and forth, and that actually creates a little bit of a current that charges a battery that could potentially charge your cell phone.
And we're not talking when you shuffle your feet on the carpet.
Right. It's not a static charge, but there's been talk of that too.
There's new carpet in our bedroom upstairs. And
how's that going?
Oh my gosh. It's, tap.
Do you
I do it on purpose.
Do you like grit your teeth before you hit the light switch in the room? Like,
no,
I don't want to turn it off. Ah!
No, but I might grin a little bit when I touch Wendy.
Too sadistic. I'm telling you right now.
Hey, honey, come here.
Yeah.
Here. But think about that though. So you got to think. So we're about energy. So a calorie is energy. We have an electrical charge. We generate heat, which is another form of energy. So at some point, and maybe it's a combination of those 3 or one of those 3 or 2 of those 3. But at some point, you would think that that chip's going to be able to operate as just a low voltage add-on that you shouldn't have to charge.
I'm glad you're saying it that way, the low voltage part, because I was afraid if somebody was listening to us right now and thought, I wonder if I could charge my electric car this way.
Well, instead of sitting stuck on the side of the road, I mean,
And yes, you can. You just have to walk 100,000 miles to get enough charge to get you home, which is 3 miles away.
so just
If you run out,
push the car home. Yeah, you'll be
yeah, you'd be better off to push the car home.
push the
Yeah.
car home, and then you can drive it the last 20 feet.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. It's possible. There's been some work in this space, and I could see someday where we have a wearable that maybe we put on our belt or something like that would actually charge as we would do our normal day-to-day thing, and then you at night, or maybe it's just your backup battery, you still charge your phone up or whatever normally, and then during the day sometime if you run low, but
And if it's acting up, if you cross your legs, the garage door goes up.
something like
So,
that. Yeah.
like,
But are we going to need that anymore when we have a battery that's coming out that's going to last for 50 years in your cell phone?
Probably not.
I wonder how they're going to do that. Are they going to just make the battery last 2 years because they want you to update your phone every 2 years or less anyway?
Or would it be really expensive?
Or will it be?
People are going to want the latest, greatest. So you bought the iPhone or the
Didn't get the 24. I got the 23. I know
you
don't
got the
fall
23.
don't fall over, but the 24 was coming out in 2 months, and I actually
Couldn't wait.
I actually opted for the 23.
I'm surprised you still have it
It's
because it's you.
for me. It's really surprising, but I'm
I got the 24
maybe getting past that. But yeah, you just
with
got it.
with
That's
the
why.
AI.
How do you like it so far?
I do. I haven't fully played with it, but I'm
Have you used the AI?
Yeah,
And?
and a lot of the assistant stuff. I did play around with the translator, which is really cool. Really cool. It's like, oh, because I actually pulled up some foreign language films just to go, okay, what's this? Because I spent 4 years taking German in high school and college and never got proficient to where I could speak it. I could understand it. I could read it, but couldn't speak it. And I'm like, why did I waste 4 years for this? And the reason I did is because I'm a big World War II history buff, and I wanted to watch war movies without having to read subtitles. And that's the whole reason I took German. And I could hold the phone up. You don't have to read a subtitle. It's amazing. And there's nuance to it. So, because and we've had this discussion on AI, a lot of the nuance that goes into language that AI with ChatGPT just didn't have. It's learning, it's getting better, but it didn't have the nuance in language. It's there. It picks up a lot of the nuance. So if somebody says something and there's an inflection on a certain part of a sentence or a certain part of a word, it'll pick it up. So I am very impressed with the translator, the translation side of the AI
That's
in
pretty
my
cool.
phone. It is. I'm like, I'm a little blown away. It's way further beyond what I thought it would be.
I think for most people, if you've used like Google Translate before, where we're going with translation is incredible. Even with ChatGPT, it is real easy. You just in ChatGPT, you just open the window up and you say, "I'm going to speak to you in English. Please respond in German." And then the next words you just tell it, and the next words you're going to hear after that when you're prompted will be from German. I want you to translate that back to English, and it does it for you.
Hey, Chad, ich liebe dich.
It's really incredible, and we'll maybe in a segment down the road here, I should bring everybody up to speed with what I'm doing with artificial intelligence, because I think it'll blow some people away. But
And there's some amazing stuff out there. Absolutely. Like we talk about a lot of it here and a lot of different spaces with artificial intelligence, but it seems like the technology, a lot of the stuff that's behind the scenes right now that people don't know about is where there's a lot of innovation taking place.
It's incredible. It's so incredible what's going on right now. You have this scenario where I feel like, and I was just listening this morning about the pandemic, And they're basically, there's stuff coming out right now that's stating that our students are a half a year to 2/3 of a year behind in their learning.
Can AI catch them up?
Well,
I've heard that discussion.
sure. But they're behind on that. So then you feel like, the current crop of students that are coming out of our educational system are going to be a little behind, right? So we continue to seem to be dumbing down to the lowest denominator in classrooms, and then that's a whole political thing. And I'm not going there at all. But
what movie is that, Marlo? One of the ones I reference all the time.
Idiocracy.
We're becoming dumber as a society.
And I look at that movie, and the more I think about that movie, it's like a documentary of our future. It's just unbelievable.
It's coming to fruition.
It is. And anyway, but I look at that, and I'm like, how is it that we continue to advance these other things so quickly? Is it because of artificial intelligence that we don't have to be so smart anymore because AI is going to do these things?
But the artificial intelligence is what, and this is where I battle with it is it going to help us be smarter? Is it going to fill in the gap where we are dumbing down as a society? Or is it going to exacerbate the dumbing down of society because people get lazy?
Yeah.
And people can be inherently lazy.
Wall-E.
Yeah, like the movie Wall-E.
When they're up in the spaceship and they just don't even know what to do anymore because the AI just takes care of them.
Damn, we're out of Tang. What do we do now?
Yeah. Oh, look, there's Tang.
I like Tang. I used to love Tang.
I like Tang, too. I made a...
Still around?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it forever.
I went and got a thing of Tang last summer and made a one of those picnic cooler 5-gallon things. Yeah, the igloo. Yeah, I made a whole thing, and
leaked, and the ants always get.
Yes, exactly. But filled my glass full of ice, filled that full of Tang, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have missed you.
Oh yeah,
that was so good. And now you got me thinking about it again.
I know. I loved Tang when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was kind of that special little treat.
Ad skid all over it.
Yeah. Well, that usually lemonade.
Yeah, that's true. Lemonade was the worst. Right?
Lemonade.
Well, and it was sticky.
And what was it about pink lemonade that was worse than yellow lemonade?
I don't know, but it certainly looked better. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
It's all about the AI. Yep. So
you don't have to be a pirate either.
I'm amazed at how things continue to progress so rapidly in artificial intelligence. But in order to, boy, do we have, I'm going to back up just a little bit here. So AI, people think it's advancing way too quickly. I mean, a lot of people feel this way.
Hence the whole European Union putting the clamps on artificial intelligence. They're legislating against the natural progression of artificial intelligence. They're locking it down a little bit.
And I think you're going to see some of that probably here too. I just feel like there's going to be, my concern is like in iRobot, for example. I'm going to start using your analogy type of stuff, right? I mean, if we don't get the language right, one little nuance off, and I don't know how you make it so there isn't some nuance, right? 20 years down the road, it's going to get exploited by AI. So I just am concerned about
what you said,
the rules of artificial intelligence. But
now my concern about that, though, is if you're going to put the clamps on it, then if the government's going to restrict it, then are they going to be doling out licenses for who can and cannot progress with it? That's I've got some concerns there.
So this is where I think it's really going to go. There's a natural slowdown to all of this. And it's because we don't have the resources to keep up.
Really?
They can't make the chips fast enough. NVIDIA, for example, who's become $1 trillion company now, or valuation of over $1 trillion, which is incredible because they were just making video cards a couple of years ago, but now they're making, chips for
today,
AI.
Apple stock.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Just unbelievable. I was just, if somebody had bought $1,000 worth of stock in in NVIDIA just 5 years ago. I mean, it's worth like $128,000 now. It's just insane how much that company has gone up in value. But they put their cards into building AI chips. Anyway, the latest estimate is that we need 3 times as much power that we generate on the world right now to keep up with artificial intelligence. You and I live in a power. I mean, we produce a lot of power here in North Dakota.
We used to. And just a little insight for those that may not know. So one of the big tech booms was a lot of crypto mining.
Yes.
Because of our climate, you don't have to worry about heating it to the extent that cooling in the winter.
25% of the energy consumption in the center.
And now because of all the crypto mining and some of the other technology stuff that we've had in North Dakota take place, we're not that big producer of excess energy to export anymore.
Correct.
We're running out locally.
We are. And what's interesting is that there is a data center being built in North Dakota right now that will potentially use as much energy in that one center as the entire state of North Dakota does collectively.
Wow.
One place.
One place.
One place. And that includes all the other data centers that have been built in North Dakota since. So it's amazing how much energy these things consume.
Okay, so you're talking
that
about the
really
flaws of, everything needs to be electric.
Oh yeah,
that's a huge flaw.
This puts this, and the value of electricity now is going to just go way up. And then the thing is, and this is what I think is going to get really interesting pretty soon, is do you want artificial intelligence or do you want air conditioning? Because we don't produce enough electricity to run both right now because it's 90 degrees outside or 100 degrees outside. What do you think is more important? Well, odds are pretty good that the AI is going to be preferential, will get treated better than the air conditioning that you and I need, because we need the AI to perform all the other stuff that's going on, like making sure that the ambulance get dispatched in time and our pizza delivery shows up and all this stuff.
You can always ask your AI robot to, hey, it's hot, blow on me.
Yes. You're a funny guy. But this I think is the bigger challenge over the next decade, is as AI progresses, and it's progressing at such an alarming and fast rate that we don't make enough electricity to keep up with it. So it's going to slow down the progression of artificial intelligence, first off, because of that, and because we don't have enough chips either. And then secondly, because we're going to be faced with these dilemmas in the very near future. In fact, it would not surprise me this summer somewhere that they have to make a choice, like in California or someplace, that, all right, we either are going to keep everything online, because the internet is basically AI too, right? I mean, that has to function because everything operates off of it now. Everything. You can't make a phone call without it. You can't run a credit card. You can't move money. You can't even pay for your Coca-Cola anymore. I mean, I've gone into places that don't take cash anymore, which means
a lot of places don't take cash.
That if they're not taking cash, that they can't make any transactions if the internet goes down.
Which, by the way, speaking of the cash thing, and I just read this article this morning about why you should pay in cash instead of digital currency. And the example was, you take a $50 bill and you pay whatever service or product you just bought with that $50, and it goes to that business owner, and they have $50.
They don't.
But digitally,
they have $48.50.
Digitally, yes. So if you pay with a credit card versus pay with cash,
3% right off the top.
3% right off the top. Now extrapolate that out over how many different transactions, or take that $50 bill that gets used over and over and over again, and it was like the value of that $50 bill digitally. Who owns it? It goes to the banks and the companies, and the value of that $50 is like $3. It's crazy.
Actually, when you think about, this is why there's such a push on for digital currency, in my opinion, is that it's another money grab.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any more. I don't mean to be sounding like it's a pun, because I guess it kind of is, but it truly is a money grab. And you take, like you said, you take that 3% over and over and over and over again. It's just incredible how much money is made in those digital transactions. But you and I mean, I have to tell you, when I used to travel, it was always the last place I would go to before I travel was the bank.
Yeah, you had to get cash to travel.
That or traveler's checks.
Yeah,
I would always carry like $300, $500
dating yourself
traveler's checks with me.
For those,
I never used them.
No, nobody did. Went and picked them up, but nobody ever used them.
That's correct. So I always, you took them back to the bank and got them redeemed. And then you had that fee that went with that too. But there was some peace of mind to that, I think, right? Not that people, if they stole your wallet, they were stealing your traveler's checks as well, probably. Although I always stored them someplace else, I guess. But anyway, I leave now. I don't even have $1 on me sometimes.
Are we going to get to the point where we have to prioritize the different categories of AI and what AI does for us?
So that's interesting. If there's
like what's got to go?
Essential services category A+.
And what people are going to say right now, internet is an essential service.
That's correct. So that would probably fall into that A+ one. But the running of your
water, food,
the running of your robot at home that would maybe vacuum your house, that would be a C level. That's an interesting question and a good observation, because you're right. I bet you AIs will be classified as essential service. At least some of it will be considered that, so that the power is prioritized to them.
Again, this goes back to who's going to be in charge of licensing, who gets to utilize this AI if they clamp down on AI.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting things here, and we're going to continue the conversation later.
News, talk, and sports for Bismarck Mandan. Super Talk 1270. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So the question is, if you're going to break up Apple, depending on what this litigation looks like with Apple being sued, then what's the future look like? I'm envisioning a world where you can go in and out of different platforms. You can go from the Android to the iOS and back and forth without, in some scenario where it's seamless, and not getting hung up on the apps anymore. I mean, what are your thoughts on what that looks like? You buy an app right now and you own the app, but is that going to change?
Right. I look at this from the standpoint of maybe streaming services. The apps are free. You pay for the service. I think that's the direction a lot of these companies are going. A lot of them are in-app purchases. And that's what it really comes down to, the 30%. It's no longer, to me, what the platform is. It's who's having to pay what share of the fee. I subscribe to Netflix through my Apple device. And it just goes on my Apple card every month. And I control the subscriptions that way. Apple gets a 30% share of what Netflix charges me. For better or for worse, that's the way the system is. Yeah, I could actually subscribe to Netflix outside of that ecosystem as well and just pay Netflix directly. And Apple wouldn't get the 30%, but I'm probably paying the same amount. So to me, it doesn't really...
There's no benefit for you.
Yeah, there's no benefit. Now, there's a benefit with my Paramount Plus subscription. My Paramount Plus subscription is left over from before Paramount Plus even existed. It's an old CBS All Access. And the deal was, if you have Apple TV Plus, we'll give you CBS All Access for $9 a month. Now, you want Paramount Plus, you're going to pay more. And I am paying more than $9 now, but I'd be paying a lot more for my Paramount Plus subscription if I hadn't already had the bundle and been grandfathered in. Because I have the commercial-free version of Paramount Plus for the price of what you'd have of the free version now, basically. If I was going to be a brand new subscriber, what I'm paying now, I'd have to watch commercials if I subscribe today. But I can log into anything. I can log in on an Android device. I can log in on my phone, my iPad, my iMac, my Apple TV, my Roku. Yeah, I mean, Apple TV is even on my son's Roku TV, so you can log into your Apple TV account that way and access all of our iTunes movies and our Apple TV Plus subscription. So ultimately, it's really going to come down to what do the developers have to pay, and I don't see the consumers benefiting from Fortnite not having to pay 30%. Does that mean they're going to give me a 30% discount on what they're charging me?
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's this issue of credit card fees. Apple charges certain fees to be allowed to be added to Apple Wallet. Well, there's a convenience factor there. I've had to get my credit cards are in my Apple Wallet, and I've had to get my credit cards canceled and renewed recently, do some identity theft, but I didn't have to re-enter my credit card numbers. My new card number was issued to me, and my new card was automatically updated in my wallet.
Well, okay, that's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, it's like, used to be you had to go and you canceled your card, got a new number, you got to go out and change everything. All your recurring subscriptions, you got to change them all. Well, with my American Express, it was seamless. New charges needed to be on my new number, but they automatically updated my old subscriptions to the new number. And if I had any issues, I had to go and cancel things separately, but maybe there is a security concern there that they just automatically...
Big Brother's kind of watching.
Yeah. But I think that's where it's headed, is that you pay for the service. What device you're using doesn't matter. Microsoft Office is a subscription product. I have it on my Mac at home, I have it on my iPad, and I have it on my computer here at work. One fee, multiple devices. And there's this issue of password sharing. Everyone's like sharing passwords. Netflix cracking down on that. To be honest, I just don't know where this lawsuit's going to go. What do you break up Apple as? Do you separate out their iPhone division from their watch division from their computer division? Or do you set the App Store aside and say you have to do the App Store separately? Or are they supposed to be able to take all comers and just let...
See, and that's kind of where I envision everything's unlocked. It's more of a broad platform. Your device is separate, but now we're losing the potential of integrating certain devices amongst certain devices. So like, if you want to think of it in terms of populating a platform with, I've got the watch, the phone, the computer, the tablet, and they're all integrated. Does everything function autonomously, or do all the walls come down? Because I can see pros and cons of the walls coming down. I mean, I don't see a benefit for the consumer in any fashion with that. So that's why I kind of wonder where the lawsuit's going to wind up going.
Yeah, I mean, so my phone is unlocked and suddenly I can install apps from anywhere. But am I going to? Where do I go to get them? Do I go to these stores that don't have any controls on what gets put out there? I look at it from the...
Do you trust the security?
Yeah. I look at it from the standpoint of some of the computers that come through this office for repair. There are bundled programs that come with all these computers now. Antivirus, and it's like, but you don't need that antivirus. There's all these upsells. So they're constantly bundling it with you. And there is the risk that you go and you start installing stuff from wherever you want, you're going to get a virus. So from the standpoint of not being able to install anything that breaks my computer, I think for some segment of the population, it would be nice to, if you're not a computer expert, to be able to, I just go here and I click and it's done. Now, is that a dumbing down of the populace? And we're taking advantage of people that just don't know how things work? But at the same time, you're less apt to have a problem. I've seen multiple computers come through here. People want to be able to install whatever they want, and then they go and they click on something they shouldn't. And not suddenly I have to restart their computer and reset everything. They've lost data.
Well, and that's the security component because, so for one, there's familiarity and people get comfortable with what they know. Hence the Apple, iOS, the Windows, they get comfortable in that platform. And then there's the security side of that, because if you do open it up and take those walls down through litigation, through this lawsuit, then are you exposing people to many more nefarious things that are out there that, well, there was this level of protection when I was working within this system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's a case where, hey, this is free. Why don't I just download this version of Office as opposed to pay Microsoft? It's like, but it's covered in ads, or it's just terrible.
Or you're going to wind up with a bunch of add-ons that weren't advertised as coming with the system.
Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And today on the Tech Ranch, by the way, welcome everybody. Well, yeah.
Hey.
Good, right?
Yeah. Marlo Anderson, Steve Bakken, John Chaos.
Didn't they say that on the thing and coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we have the bumper,
reiterating. Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm just asking.
Cybersecurity expert.
Yeah, that's a surprise. And then you.
Whatever the hell I am.
You're at the control panel. You're the king of the controls.
Okay,
King of the controls.
I like that.
King of the controls.
I'm going to go with that.
So, yeah, I was targeted last week in Vegas, I think, and we're going to have our cybersecurity specialist. I'm going to tell this story.
Okay, tell the story. And
well, I have other things I want to talk about.
We'll let
first.
John decide
That's right.
if you were targeted.
That's right. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, and why maybe that's not such a good idea. I think John can weigh in on that too. And swiper jacking, cord jacking, all this other stuff that maybe people need to be situationally aware about when they're out in public. What is it that you really need to be careful about when you're using your cards, your personal identity? These are all things we're going to talk about today.
Not tracker jackers, though.
What's the tracker jacker?
That was that killer bug from like a hornet from the Hunger Games.
I need to watch the Hunger Games, I guess. Yeah.
Overrated.
So anyway, our special guest today.
I bring everything back to movies, John.
It's hard.
No, you do. It's me.
It's been a long time since we've talked, John. So John Nagel, cybersecurity. I always want to say cyber, but it's cybersecurity specialist.
Cybersecurity.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since we've talked. You were a guest often on the old Tech Ranch.
I even had the privilege of guest hosting and being Marlo Anderson 2.0. It was sad. It got way too much hair.
He died for that, right? No wonder it's 2.0.
Marlo Anderson.
He's faster. He's stronger. He has more hair.
But no cake.
So here's the setup. So I was in Vegas last week, and I was attending a convention. And I got this invite to go to this pre-CES Consumer Electronics Show thing, which I've covered, as you know, for many, many years. And they were going to be talking about NFTs and crypto and all this stuff that's kind of in my wheelhouse. So I got a little excited about it. The convention that I was at the convention center in Vegas. This reception was at the hotel right next door, so I could walk out the doors where I was going over to this other one, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this couldn't be more easy. They had actually they were going to put me up for 3 nights in the hotel and the whole bit, and we were going to do this tour of the facility the next day and all this stuff. So I get there, and I was at the sign-in desk. It was in a small room. So first of all, there was less than 50 people there. Stunned by how small this was.
First red flag.
Okay. I'm checking in, and this lady comes up to me and starts giving me kind of a massage. I have no idea who this is. Okay. And she's like, she does this for a few seconds. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with what's going on. And then she walks away and she goes, I'll see you in a little while. Okay. So I walk into this room. I have unusual conversations with many people. like weird conversations. I have no idea what they're talking about. They're just talking in circles for 10, 15 minutes at a time. I literally have to stop them. The one guy actually asked, can you just send me to your website? He's like, this is too complicated to have explained on a website. What are you talking about? This is insane. The drinks that they were offering was red and blue. That was it. You could check. So like red pill, blue pill type of scenario, right? And then I started asking people why I'm there. And I caught up to the organizer, and she said, well, these are about 50 of the brightest people in the world. And isn't it exciting that we're here to change the world? This is like a kumbaya moment with the organizer. And then I'm thinking to myself, and I asked her again, I said, so why am I here? Because I'm not one of the 50 brightest people in the world. And most of the people...
51st.
Most of the people, yeah, right, 51st, yeah. Most of the people I talk to
brightest, not best look.
are not, no, they did say brightest, yeah. But the people I talk to are not the brightest people in the world either. So anyway, it was really weird. And then this gal comes into the room. She comes up to me and she's like, I'm so excited you're here.
Was it the same one?
Same one that gave me the massage, okay? And we start talking, and she goes, and I have your contact information, so if I need to reach out...
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Catch the Tech Branch with Marlo Anderson
And Steve Bucket.
on Super Talk 1270, Saturday afternoons 1 till 4 on Super Talk 1270.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
So I just want to reiterate here, too, that, I know I'm maybe a little more public figure than most people are, but this can happen to anybody, right? I mean, there might be reasons for whatever reason, that people might want to target you or somebody in your family or whatever. So the only reason I'm even sharing this story, because I would never share this story if I didn't think that other people, wouldn't be impacted by it.
Actually, it was kind of fun because I was talking to you the next day, and I kept throwing things in that was kind of freaking them out.
Yeah, it's not freaking me out. But I do think that. I think that everybody's at risk here.
Right.
So this is why I'm sharing this story, because this is not something I would normally share with people.
And my question, John, is so going back to the information side, because he did not know this person, and how easy was it to, being close proximity in something as, hey, I'm going to rub somebody's shoulders that I don't know, but is it, dude, I advice?
So my cell phone's in my back pocket.
And she's behind you.
She's behind me doing this.
So for her to have a skimming device, I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes and forms.
Your phone, right?
They can be your phone. They can be your phone. It's RFID. It's NFC,
yeah.
but also Bluetooth. We got to forget about that. If you enable Bluetooth for certain functions, allow people to see my network, connect to my network. You just kind of do that because it makes it easy to come in and be connected right away. So you had 3 possible attack vectors standing behind you, giving you a massage. That's more than creepy, I guess. I don't know.
Creepy.
And then on top of it, they're invading your personal space. They're touching you and having this sultry voice, I guess, talking to you. It would creep the hell out of me. I don't know if I can say
You just did.
Yeah. So, but hell yeah.
I think we should scare people a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing with Marlo the rest of the weekend and sending a message, and I talked to him when he got back, and legitimately he was freaked out by it. And I'm like, yeah, you should be.
I'm surprised at how easy this took place, and I still don't 100% know for sure how she got this information, but my best guess is this massage thing that she...
And my takeaway is you're the guru of geekdom, and I'm not. And you could walk into something like that. I'm like, how easy is it for the average person on the street to lose their personal information in something as simple as somebody bumped into them on the sidewalk?
So if I have up until that time, I used to pay with my phone a lot. I go up and I pay with NFC as opposed to a credit card. I tap my phone, pays my bagel bill or my coffee bill or whatever.
It's convenient, right?
Oh my goodness, it's so convenient.
It's a wonderful technology.
Yeah. But as I was digging into this afterwards, you start to think about, wait a minute, there's like no security on this whatsoever, because the only way it really works is if there is no security. Because if you have to put a password in every time, for example, what good is that?
What's the convenience, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got the tap to pay with your credit card, right? That's kind of cool. I know I've heard noise around. I actually have not seen that happen or heard or somebody come contact me directly. Oh, I've tapped my card and it's taken something. What I do know that when it comes to phone, anything RFID, NFC, Bluetooth, that is part of what we do in our business is we have devices that we will put on even in a backpack. They're bigger and be further away. So you don't have to be very close to you to do this. That's the other scary part about this. So you can actually wear a backpack, walk around, and proximity helps. But if they're using near field communication, that was probably if I had a guess, I would probably point there. I wouldn't even point to Bluetooth.
Now, how fast is that, like, compared to Bluetooth? I mean, can they change? Is the transfer rate pretty significant where they can?
It's decent. I just don't know how wide the bandwidth is to how much data can come down. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that you can move stuff pretty quick, but it sounds like she was massaging you for at least a minute.
Well, I don't know if it was that long, but it was
felt like a long time, right?
Yeah, well, I was uncomfortable for a long time.
And then, the other thing is she could have been standing behind you for a while and got closer. All of a sudden, now she gets the signal. And now I know I need a little more time, just that little bit more time. But maybe that's something for another topic. I can do a little research.
So I have a pleasure. Just going back to layman, me. So I use my phone and I have a phone case with my credit cards and everything that's in here. My phone's my wallet. Do I need to look, or should people look at having those protective cases or the shielding for their phones and their credit cards? What did that look like?
Do they even work?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Do they work?
So they have to be certified. I believe if that card is certified by the FCC, you're probably in business, right? Because they're looking at it. And there are some out there that do that. And I have not tried this, but it'd be interesting because you have those cards or the protective sleeve for your credit card, right? You can get things for your phone, but there's actually cards that you can carry. So Steve, I know I'm not going to say how you carry your phone and wallet, but knowing what I do, I know you could slip something in there to probably protect both. Mm-hmm. So there's devices out there that will provide that jamming that you can carry.
I see. That's interesting.
Right. So
it's an expensive thing.
Not terrible at all. I mean, What's expensive? Look what you just lost.
Well, that's true. But I'm wondering, but what's the barrier? Is it what's
it's not
$100?
Yeah, I would say it's under $99 typically, right? Okay. So it's not a huge expense, but what's it worth? So if you can get the so-called jamming device, go back to, when you drive down, you had the radar detectors and you got radar jamming devices for speeding. Similar concept here.
Interesting.
Still,
maybe you should be sharing that on the air.
Little lead foot. I'm just saying.
Funny.
Highway, not in town. That's okay.
So that's interesting. So, and then like there's wallets, there's purses that you can buy that have these coatings in them. Tinfoil hats. I mean,
kind of like that too. They do. I mean, you even have them for think about your passport today too, right? So that they have them to protect your passport. But and Kickstarter has some interesting things out there, as you know, as a subscriber sometimes.
Yeah, I love Kickstarter.
So there's a few things coming out there that you can always look there for some of the latest and greatest. But for sure, there are jamming devices out there. I just call it a credit card jammer. And you can actually put that with your devices and cards to actually break that interference. But you as an owner have a responsibility too. When you walk into an area and you have Wi-Fi going, Bluetooth going, all these other connections, it might not be a bad idea to put your phone in airplane mode maybe.
Yeah.
Especially when you're at something like this. Now you're going to lose messages and you can't connect, but in this situation.
So I should have known better. I mean, I've gone to White Hat before. I know you've been there as well. The White Hat, why don't you explain what White Hat is?
So there's three different hats in the cyber world, right? White hat are those for the good guys. They tell you how to do things. They do things for the benefit or for the good. Black hat is the other extreme. They are nefarious. They do it for money. And then the gray hat in the middle, they can kind of go both ways. And, they might come up and say, hey, Steve, guess what? You got that business out there. I found this flaw. if you give me about $25,000, I won't expose it. I'll just give it to you. You can look good and fix it and the good press, and you're balking at it. Well, guess what? They're going to flip the gray hat, front to back, and then go around and sell it. So they play the middle line. So that's what you're dealing with here. And you can think of it, the psychology of all three are dramatically different. But I would, the white hat stuff we've talked about, you've got black hat in Vegas, right?
Well, you have
They got DEF CON there.
Right. You have all these events that go on all the time. So if you go to a white hat event, they always talk about half the audience isn't white hat at all.
100%.
Yeah.
And half is just curious. But what's happening now with AI, and I don't know if that's a topic now, rather, it's a whole other ball game.
Right.
It's 100% a different ball game, and everybody needs to be in it right now, as scary as it is.
Well,
But
one thing's for sure, when you go to any of the hat events, nobody has their phone on them.
Nobody has their phone on. You don't wear expensive jewelry. Yeah. You look as normal as you possibly can because they will follow you to your room.
Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And if you're just joining us, Mr. John Nagel in studio, our cybersecurity specialist. Beck Communications, and the name of your company?
Cybernet Security by Beck. They acquired us a couple of years ago because they saw the relevancy and the trajectory of where cyber is going, especially in telecommunications, critical infrastructure. So that's what we do.
And we're talking about ways that there are ways that maybe people who are more public or whatever are targeted or whatever, but everybody can have these type of scenarios. And one of them is juice jacking. What the heck is juice jacking?
There's these wonderful, we have a bunch of acronyms, but we have some really cool words.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so here's juice jacking. So juice jacking is this need for power, right?
Right.
You carry your phone with you. Oh, crap, I'm out of juice. I'm at an airport. What do I do? Or public charging stations is really where this evolved from. And you go up and you charge your phone, you plug it in. Hey, this is all cool. Well, who could ever think of?
Because there's a cord dangling there that's got USB 3 or whatever you need to plug it in.
And it's got 5 different connectors on it. I can connect anything.
Other people's phones are sitting there.
Tab or you set it down and away you go.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, this is fine and safe. The problem with that is that inside that jack, there's more than 4 wires, Dave, but typically there's 4 wires. 2 are for data and a couple for charging. Red and black for charging, typically, if you crack them open. The problem is you plug them in, they're all 4 connected. So now you got a data connection. And that's where the issue comes in. So when you go out and plug these in, there's been a lot of chatter. And this has been going on for multiple years now. And it got raised again by, the FCC, got raised by FBI, CISA, et cetera, that, hey, this is becoming a problem. The interesting thing is I've never heard of it happening to anybody. I know of it. I know it's 100% possible because I've got cables to do it with, being in this business. So when you plug that in, it comes to your phone. What it actually does, it'll connect. It'll actually take and send some data down that line to your phone to put some malware on it. And you won't know it's there. Then as you start to move away, it takes hold and it'll start to execute itself. So now you've been jacked, and then it'll send and transmit that data via cellular or other, or allow them to get in and get contacts. So, anywhere you go, you see those charging stations, it's a convenience. We need power. Everybody needs more power. And Tim the Toolman Taylor, right? I was just waiting for the show reference here. But so when you talk about that, what do you do, right? Everybody has portable little chargers, but it's weight. I've got my, 400 milliamp, 1200 milliamp little charger, but you're carrying it again. Oh, should you have lithium ion batteries on the plane? Probably not. So what do? You take off and you plug in. Go ahead.
So the question then is, we're talking about the cord that's dangling there.
Correct.
No, we're not talking about you bringing your own wall jack charger and plugging it in the wall. We're not talking about, are we talking about, okay, there's a USB port there and I've got my own cord.
Yeah.
Do you trust that USB port?
I don't trust anything like that, to be honest.
Because the cord you have, everything's connected, right? I mean, it's a data cord as well as a power cord.
So here's a couple of things for everybody. You can just go buy a charging cord, period. Doesn't matter what's in that USB jack.
So what do you look for when you go, okay, I'm going to be traveling and I want just a power cord, no data? Is that a 2, 3? How do you see that in the box?
It just says power charger cord only. You can specifically look for that. It'll say it'll say phone charge cord only, no data transfer. You know, when you plug your phone in right away, it comes up, you plug it into your PC and, oh, hey, we just have to connect.
Exactly.
Those are those other lines in there. So those are the ones you don't want. So you can go out and buy the cords charging only. There's another little trick too. If you're an Apple user, take your cord and hold it up to the light. If you can see light on both sides of it at the corners, you're probably okay. If it's dark, that's a bad cord. 100% they're using it, yes. So 100% you can, that's one way to do it. Is it 100% foolproof? I don't know. I can't answer that. But I know if I can't see through it, I probably might have a problem.
Right.
And you can buy these cords. People can lay them out there to plug in. So,
But if you have your own block and you plug into a power outlet,
you're fine.
Then you're fine because it's you.
It's you.
Because there's no way that data is being taken over electrical lines.
100%, right? So
Yet.
Data is plentiful. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, in fact, you can still buy these things. You plug them into your power outlet and it moves in it, or it moves your network.
Well, like fiber, and fiber has the ability for carrying electricity and carrying.
But I'm going to get that block that you buy. There's no data transfer going on at that block.
No,
so even if that receptacle could move data, there's no way that block's going to let it go through anyway.
It wouldn't, because there's no connector for it. It's just positive, negative.
That's exactly right.
There's nothing else out there. So, and there's a couple other things out there, and I know this might sound a little crude. I don't intend it to be, but go to Amazon or go to the web, and they're called USB condoms, and they are just little things you can carry in your pocket, size of a quarter. You plug that in first, and then plug your cable into it. That'll take care of you.
Really?
But it's really nice to have, right? They're inexpensive. Buy them a 5-pack for $10, $20, but you've got them. So if you lose one, not a big deal. But it's easier to carry that sometimes than a big power pack yourself. That weight in your backpack seems to get heavier and heavier and heavier. So if I can find little things like that to help, it's
depends on what airline you're flying to.
Yeah, that's the other one too.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So, are there other little things out there besides juice jacking? And we're going to get into Wi-Fi in the next segment, but anything else that you can think of where people can easily steal your data as you're walking around?
So the data, not so much. When I think of physical data, I'm talking about documents that you have stored on something. What's interesting to me in this field is having people connect to something, public Wi-Fi. And being able to not recognize, is that actually Starbucks or Star BUKS, right? And those are very easy to put up.
Well, I always ask that if somebody goes, hey, you need to download this app. And I'm like, okay, show me the picture of the app that you think that I need, because there's little nuances that could be different. You and I had a conversation about acorns.
Yeah.
And there's acorn, there's acorn, there's a bunch.
It's all of that, right?
Hey, one other question on the charging thing too. What about charging pads?
Charging pads, I haven't seen an issue with it, but you think about it. We just they were giving away a bunch of them at a show I was at this week. You plug them in, you set your phone up on there, and away you go. And I haven't talked about that one yet, but I'm just wondering if some of those are out there too that can be jacked that way.
You talk
Bluetooth or something.
That's what and NFC field
B or whatever. Yeah.
The other thing too, and this going back a little old school, going to different conferences and businesses used to hand out the USBs.
Oh, don't ever pick those up.
Don't ever.
No, $1 million. No, leave those alone. Don't go there. But the last thing that, here, just to go back to the public Wi-Fi thing, you can sit down at Kirkwood Mall right here in Bismarck, North Dakota, and you can put up your own little Wi-Fi. And we use some tools out there, and you can just sit there and just sit right in the middle of Kirkwood Mall at a bench and just relax with your computer. And it's funny how people walk by and they'll connect. And when they connect and then, I want to log into something. Connecting is one thing, but as soon as you log into something, now your password, now your login name comes right across. And people don't think about it. So public Wi-Fi, not a bad thing, but please use a VPN. Use some type of encryption mechanism if you're going to go do banking. Just don't do that.
And make sure that you're connecting to somebody that you trust. I mean, if you're going to be at a place, if you're at Kirkwood Mall, for example, and like you said, there's a misspelling in it or just another nuance to it, you need to make sure you're connecting to the one. Because, I've been in Vegas many times, and I look at the Wi-Fi that are available, and I would bet that half of them are hackers.
Well, 100%.
Get in there.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
We're talking about the world of influencers, and of course, proposed legislation to ban TikTok is where we're going to wind up here. But going back to the YouTube side of things, I want to talk about YouTube because that was kind of the early on world of influencer, and it started out as a platform for just people putting out crazy videos, but it's got legs. It's got longevity, and things with longevity fall into a different category. I remember I got into the YouTube when YouTube started having, people were posting music videos, and this was on I'm going to date myself a little bit, the tail end of Napster and all those free sharing sites that all kind of went south because people were like, wait a minute, we're getting sued because we're not paying fees and all the legalities with the music industry. But people started posting the videos, and you'd go to somebody's house party, and hey, somebody's sitting there on their laptop and they're running through all these different music videos because they're pulling them up on YouTube.
Right.
Okay, that was kind of the big push for YouTube videos, and then it got into all kinds of other stuff, but it's been around for so long now. It's kind of the gold standard because, again, it's not the little quick snippet. There's long form stuff. I use YouTube videos for DIY projects all the time.
Absolutely.
There's so much content, so much information. How does that differentiate from a TikTok? And we're going to get into the politics and the legalities of TikTok in just a few minutes, but how does that differentiate from a social media platform like a TikTok where all these social media influencers are there, but are they all kind of trying to strive to get to having the YouTube channel, to get to over there because that's the brass ring?
Honestly, yeah, that's where a lot of these influencers are going for their long form stuff. With monetization in YouTube, it's kind of interesting how they have changed it, especially in the past 5 years. For example, about 5 years ago, you weren't allowed to be monetized if you were swearing in all of your videos or if you were showing explicit content. Exactly. And then during the pandemic, you couldn't mention COVID or else they would demonetize you just because there was a lot of misinformation being spread. And it was a good way for them to be like, okay, stop talking about this if you don't know what you're talking about, which is, neither here nor there. But the big thing with YouTube is that, yes, it is long form. And once you have a following there, pretty much people will come to YouTube just to watch your stuff usually, and especially in the era of instant gratification through Instagram and through TikTok and stuff like that.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because in my observations, when I'm looking at YouTube, that is for monetization. Those people on YouTube, they're getting paid, and it is about the monetization side of stuff. When I'm looking at the TikToks and the Instagrams and the X and the other social media platforms, there's not necessarily a monetization in that because it's a shorter content for one, but it's just there's the aspect of, well, this is where I'm dabbling.
Right.
YouTube, it's like if I look at a video on YouTube, I know somebody's getting paid.
Yes, usually, and it's over a certain minute threshold. Usually, is how that goes.
And we also track the engagement. So if you're clicking on say I'm looking at a DIY project, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to remember how to do that wiring or whatever the case may be, and I'll go back and look at a video, and they're getting paid the longer I'm engaged on that site as well. So if it's a 5-minute video and I just needed one little snip to go, yeah, okay, that wire goes there, and I'm on it for 30 seconds, probably somebody's not getting paid. At least to the extent that if I watch the whole 5-minute video, they're getting paid more.
So there's this
again, the metrics are different.
Well, and there's this really interesting thing with YouTube. You upload a video and it guesses what your chapters of the video are going to be. You can change those yourself, but it gives it sections, right? So if you're looking for a very specific part of the video, it's got it in the middle, and it shows you actually on the video play wheel thing that where most people watched it, you can see where the most engagement is as the viewer of the video. So you're like, oh, most people found this particular spot helpful. So it's about the amount of time on the video, not the longevity of the video anymore, which is interesting. So if you have this 1 30-second part of the video, but you keep watching it, that's the same as watching the full video. if that makes sense.
It does. Now, I want to get back into the TikTok because TikTok, of course, the big news, we've been following this, potential legislation coming out of Congress.
Yes.
That will ban TikTok. And it's interesting because whether you're for TikTok or against TikTok, there's something else at play here. Now, from a legislative perspective, if you want to go read it, it's not one of those too big to, we got to pass to find out what's in it. It's a 13-page document and pretty quick read. So if you go in and follow the language, though, there's some First Amendment things in there that, because I always look at what are the unintended consequences to an issue. So, yes, TikTok, because of ownership, because of who owns the property on there and where that goes back to and how that platform is set up in the rest of the world versus in China, yeah, there's some bad things there.
Yeah.
There's some positives, but because of the political landscape, if it gets banned, if that legislation passes, I'm not worried about the TikTok. It's about the unintended consequences of that. Because when you're looking at that document, what that does gives the president, with the stroke of a pen, the ability to shut down any platform that individual who's sitting in the Oval Office sees fit.
Right. Eventually, yeah. Of course.
I don't like that political opponent's webpage.
Right.
Shut it down. Here's a stroke of a pen. I don't like the message that's being sent by this other. You can shut anything down.
Yeah.
I don't like X. I don't like TikTok. I don't like Facebook. I don't like the First Amendment side of this, the unintended consequences, very dark and very scary. So how do you navigate that? Because there's a lot of people that think TikTok's bad.
Yeah.
And want to see something happen.
Sure.
But I'm more worried about the unintended consequences, the other side of that.
It's interesting because if you look at the arguments, right, it's pretty bipartisan how the vote went, right? It's because nobody wants to be seen as soft on whatever issue that China is.
Well, the ironic part is you've got a Chinese company with a Chinese platform that's promoting free speech, which is
isn't that the whole thing?
Come on, you can't make that up.
Right. Well, and so no one wants to be soft on the issue. That's why it went through the way that it did. And of course, we won't know if this is going to go through. It may drag its feet to November. Again, the political implications of this is so messy and murky. The thing is, the big talking points that we want to focus on, really, like that a lot of people are bringing up, are number one, it's very addictive. The way that you scroll, the doom scrolling aspect of it, it's very unhealthy for minds that are not fully developed, whether that's, actual little kids, teenagers, whatever, like up until basically.
I know 50-year-olds that mind may not be fully developed.
Well, there you go. That's kind of the other aspect, but it's an addictive thing, and it makes you want to get on your phone and just look at stuff, even if you're not absorbing any of that information. And that is hurtful, and really it has negative effects in itself. Of course, the free speech stuff is really, really, really murky, and it's really hard to navigate.
That's the scary part to me.
Yeah. I mean, and so this will affect any video platform that has over 1 million users, right? But of course, now that we can pass this into law, what else can be passed, right?
What's next?
Exactly. Especially in the social media scape, that's always changing and always trying to push people in a specific direction, being influenced in a specific direction.
So, and we could have got into a whole different area in the mental health aspect of this as well. But on the surface, whether you're for or against it, it's one thing. The unintended consequences, something entirely different.
Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Well, back to putting kidneys from pigs into humans.
Yeah, we were talking about medical technology.
So this is pretty amazing, actually. Doctors have performed the first transplant. Try it again. Doctors have performed the first transplant of a genetically modified kidney from a pig into a living human. 4-hour surgery was performed Saturday at Massachusetts General Hospital, which was also the first hospital to perform a kidney transplant in 1954. So that's kind of cool. So the guy who received the kidney, 62-year-old manager, the Department of Transportation, had been diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease, recovering well and expected to be discharged from the hospital soon. As soon as they hooked it up, it turned pink and started working immediately.
Wow.
Like it was supposed to be.
Like, no. And this is the genetically modified part, is because where they've been working in a lot of spaces and things have gotten really progressed in this area is because of the rejection side of things. So genetically modifying different organs, and whether it's from a pig or from a donor, if you've looked at kidney transplants in the past, there's only, if you've got this type of kidney and type A positive blood type, then you've got a very limited donor. So donor pool. So they're looking at this in two ways. One, okay, people that are on the list, well, we can do the genetically modified pig kidney.
Which is at any given time 100,000 people.
Right. Or we can, do some genetic modifications potentially to everybody's in the donor pool now. So there's a couple different layers with this technology. Right now, the pig side is the easiest one to genetically modify because you're not changing, because they're thinking you might have to go in and genetically modify things while they're in the donor.
Right.
Which brings up a whole bunch of different questions.
Well, and there's just all kinds of things with this, right? I mean, this is such a problem in the medical community because basically you have to wait for somebody to die in order to get a
not on the black market. That's why people wake up in
generally you have to wait
for filled with ice
people to die to get these body parts, right?
I've seen movies.
Yes, you have seen movies. But generally that's how it works. And so there's been attempts at different ways of doing this. There's even been a lot of talk about cloning humans and cloning humans strictly for the use of body parts, right? And they would have this supply of body parts on hand then for people.
But that brings a whole bunch of different rights at that point.
So much moral issues with that too. All of that too, right? So this seems to make sense. Of course, there's a lot of progress in 3D printing of organs. And there's really have been a lot of progress on that, especially in the skin space.
Well, and it's not just the organs. 3D printing, and I've talked to some different people in different spaces, and they view 3D printing as the future of almost everything.
It changes everything. It does.
It's just whatever medium you're working with.
Yeah. I mean, we laugh about the chocolate 3D printer that's now becoming rather commonplace.
You don't have yet. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I am kind of surprised too, because I think if Alice actually knew, I haven't told her this is why we don't. Oh, but if she knew there was a chocolate 3D printer,
guess who I'm calling after the show?
And they're $400.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, they're this new one is now $400, and you buy these chocolate cartridges. You just slip it in there, and then you design like the chocolate rose or the pyramid that you want. That's
oh my god!
Oh yeah,
this entire Valentine's industry.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, I can see all kinds of weddings. It just you could have your face in chocolate
instead of the chocolate fountain.
Would you have?
Everybody gets a chocolate rose.
Would the Steve Bakken chocolate head have headset on with one over the ear and one behind the ear like you do now?
So you
realize, because that's a very unique. Well, you're the only person I know in the radio industry that does this. But
I like to listen to things in real time too, and I've got a little hearing loss in one ear, and I do not put a headphone on my good ear. I just don't.
Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah, that's part of it. I will not do that.
Simply because you want to make.
Well, and I want to hear things in real time too. It's like when I'm doing an interview or talking to somebody in a studio with a microphone, I want to make sure that things match up and the levels are. That's the only reason I wear a headphone.
Why don't you just? Because the ones with just the one on them,
Yeah, I know, but sometimes if I need, if somebody's on the phone, then you need both because it's a little softer.
Well, and I've tried the ones with just the one on them, and they're not very comfortable.
No, and you don't get real true stereo if you need real stereo. Right. So, yeah, it's my little idiosyncrasy. But going back to the Steve head in chocolate, which is a little I have to admit, it's a little disturbing because I'm thinking of chocolate bunnies. And what's the first thing you do with a chocolate bunny at Easter? You bite the head off of it.
Yeah.
I don't want my head bitten off.
Oh,
My wife does that all the time.
all right.
I don't need.
Wow.
Hey, although I could give her here, if you want to bite my head off, do it in chocolate.
There you go.
Oh,
And she'd love you then
she would love me then.
because it's
Okay.
chocolate.
It's another industry for that. You have to get one of these.
I might have to get one of these.
You're going to have to get one of these.
I have to boot off one of the other 3D printers I have out there now, though, because there's a whole line of them, if you've noticed.
Yeah.
So I'm running out of space for my toys.
I'm pretty sure that Alice will make room in her office for that.
I see. Or in the kitchen, maybe.
Or the kitchen, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Find a home for it.
I'm sure you're right.
With 3D
If
print.
she knew about this, we would have
I'm
one.
going to tell her. Sorry.
Just telling you. But yeah, there's a 3D chocolate printer, everybody.
Yeah.
And I hear they're not too terrible they're actually easier to run the way it looks than a regular 3D printer because you're not dealing with filament.
Right. You're just
Dealing whopping this thing out. When this
Melt
cartridge,
chalk,
this cartridge that
harden.
yeah, and you just pull the cartridge out, put the new one in. I don't know what the replacement costs are for those cartridges. I don't know how much it prints. I mean,
And how good's the chocolate?
is it $40 and you only can get 8 chocolate bars?
See, that's the secret. How good's the chocolate?
Well, that's the thing. And I'm sure my guess is what they would have probably different types of chocolate.
We could make a chocolate kidney. Did I cross the line? You're looking at me funny.
I'm just thinking out loud about how functional that would be. But, and that's where we started with this whole conversation.
Chocolate kidney pie.
Oh my goodness.
Come on.
Will you stop it now? Oh my goodness.
Now you're hungry, aren't you?
No. I am not hungry now. I'm just going to play at the golf ball over here on the table as I ignore the things you say.
Okay, but kidneys and the technology medically is phenomenal. And it's the genetically modified component of that. The question I always wonder, because you see all this experimentation and it all comes back to pigs. It's like, remember back in the pig heart day?
Yeah.
And then pig kidneys now.
17 people a day in the U.S. die waiting for an organ.
Waiting for a transplant.
Yeah.
Waiting for a donor.
17 people every day right now. And like I said, there's 100,000 on the waiting list. It's crazy. So this is interesting. Xenotransplants is what this is called. Transplants of animal organs into people are crucial for solving the organ shortage. So I could see this technology getting more popular. I really can. I think this is actually, until we have the 3D printing thing worked out, animal transplants are going to be the way of the future for us.
Patience pays off. I'm Daria Albinger with today's tax tip. Want to make a donation to your favorite cause? Accountant Janice Heyman says, wait a bit.
Now, of course, with the higher standard deduction, it might be harder to get a tax break. So what we're recommending is if somebody knows that over a course of 2-3 years, they will have a nice sizable donation that they want to give, they could just bunch up their contributions for 1 year where it would be quite sizable.
No matter when you give, get proof, your canceled check, or
if you're paying through a credit card, you would certainly have the date of the charge. You would have that proof. If you're using PayPal, Venmo, you're doing this through Facebook perhaps, but you'll have the proof of your electronic payment.
Finally, make sure that the charity is recognized by the IRS. You'll find a list on the IRS website, irs.gov, or on the app IRS To Go. With today's tax tip, Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Talk of the Town. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.